Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to the second of two Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents this week, looking ahead to Double Gameweek 26. And we've got two correspondents on from teams who people are looking to invest in. Firstly, let me introduce you to our Arsenal correspondent, Adam Pritchard. How are you, Adam?
I'm not too bad, thanks, James.
Good man. And our Wolverhampton correspondent, Bradley Parker. How are you, Bradley?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks, James.
Good stuff. Should we firstly talk about this game last week? And Adam, I don't want to talk about this Martinelli red card anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm sure you are too. But you obviously just played Wolves. You're about to play them again. So it's a little bit unusual. What did you make of the game last week?
I thought it was I don't necessarily think it was one for the neutrals. And I think probably a lot of people going into it, or certainly a lot of Arsenal and a lot of Wolves fans, probably were predicting as such. I think I wasn't expecting it to be a great game. I think Wolves are obviously a very, very solid side from kind of a structural perspective. And I was not expecting an easy match. I think, to be honest, going into it, I would have taken a draw. So absolutely thrilled to come away with the win. It could have perhaps been more comfortable. I think there's a clear chance Lacazette perhaps should be doing better with. And then, when you're looking upon it much more favourably than you are a 1-0 win. I'm very, very happy that despite unjustly going down to 10 men, we were still able to hold out for the victory, where perhaps previously Arsenal sides might have crumbled, especially away against a potential European challenging side like Wolves. So overall, yeah, very, very happy with the result.
Bradley, red card aside, what did you make of it? I think Adam's kind of nailed it on the head, and I watched all of the game. It wasn't a thriller, but I understand why it wasn't as well.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty scrappy, really. We didn't make great chances. They took theirs from the set piece, so that's all the scrappy game. Somebody won it scrappily, so tough crap on us for losing it.
Do you think if you'd have scored first, Bradley, you'd have won 1-0?
Probably.
Is that fair, Adam?
Yeah, it never really felt like a game where there were going to be many goals in. So yeah, it's the kind of whichever team can take their chance. If Wolves had had it first, I would have sort of backed their defence to be resolute enough to keep us out, really.
Does that kind of lead into the fixture next week as well? I know you've obviously both got fixtures before that, but does it strike you as the same again, that it might be the sort of game that one goal will separate the two teams?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think both sides have built their seasons thus far largely on solid defensive performances. And with the kind of squad limitations that both have up front, it's always going to be they're relying on that as the kind of foundation in order to win a game. Like, you're not expecting, I think maybe you could say, okay, Arsenal perhaps could go and have done this season like at Norwich and at Leeds, kind of blow away a side like 4 or 5-0. My perspective as an outsider is I wouldn't really expect Wolves to go into a game and kind of score 4 or 5 goals, certainly at the moment. But yeah, when you kind of get two immovable objects in terms of like defensive solidity coming up against each other, yeah, you're never really looking at a high scoring game.
Can you believe, Adam, that you're using the terms defensive solidity and Arsenal in the same sentence?
No, it does take a little bit of adjusting to, I can't lie. But I think in kind of, I'm sure we'll talk about kind of some of Wolves' defensive options from an FPL and general perspective later on. But I think in Gabriel and Ben White, I think it's an argument to be made that's probably top 3, top 4 centre-back partnerships in the league.
You won't get an argument. I mean, certainly not in the back 4 anyway. No, I think you put the top 3 ahead of that in terms of if you've got Rudiger, Thiago, Laporte, Diaz, and Van Dijk on his own with whoever's with him. You probably still put ahead of that. But yeah, I think in terms of back fours, I've been saying it for a while. I think people need to start taking Arsenal seriously in terms of defensive strength. It does feel a little bit like, though, Adam, that you take one component out from those two, particularly at centre back, and it might crumble.
Yeah, I suppose there is that worry, and I think it's not only like you say, one of the centre backs. I think you take almost anywhere in the Arsenal side, and this is an issue of squad depth. Really, you take one of the starters out, and it kind of throws the structure off a little bit. Even like say Tierney down to kind of Tavares is probably the area where there is the least drop off, I'd say. Certainly from a kind of defensive solidity point of view, but as much as people can sort of rightly at times decry Xhaka's kind of frailties as a player, I think the drop off between him and someone like El Neni or Lokonga, purely from what they give you in terms of like maintaining that structure, it's still quite significant. Yeah, so there's like sort of, once a crack in the armor appears, I think it's relatively, or certainly much easier to pierce than it is when we're full strength.
So just looking at your defensive record for the season, Adam. So 25 goals conceded in 22, but how many was that in the first three? Was that 9? So it's Brentford, Chelsea 2 each, and 5 at City, so 9, wasn't it? I think. So that would be 16 goals conceded in your last 19 in the league. And you, Bradley, have only conceded 17 all season. How important is that back three? And is it similar thing? Because we know CotC Gomez obviously stepped in for a couple of games and he did quite well. But does it feel the same that if you take out Cody, Kilman or Saiss, it's far weaker? Is that how it feels to you as well?
Especially Cody and Kilman. I think we can live without Saiss for a few games because Totti showed what he can do. And importantly, he does have a lot of pace, which we don't actually have in that back three. Kilman's fairly quick, but Totti does have a good turn of pace. So we can live without Saiss a little bit more. So if we lost Semedo or Ait-Nouri for a long period of time, though, then there'd be a bit more of a drop-off, especially when we're playing Marcel.
How seriously do you rate the top 4 hopes, Bradley? Don't know. Particularly the Wolves patrons are knocking on my door every day going, when are we getting taken seriously? But I mean, top 4, is it on? Is it possible?
Possible mathematically, but I can't see. I'll be very happy with Europa League. I think that's achievable. But I can't see us being in the top 4. We're just a bit too powder puff probably when it matters.
Do you think, though, it gives you a benefit that you're better defensively? It's possibly a case if we bring Tottenham, West Ham and Man United into the conversation, it's possibly a case to say that in terms of goal scoring, you're probably the weakest of the 5, Bradley, but defensively you look the strongest on the numbers. Do you think you're better off being this way in terms of, it feels like you could go to the Emirates next week and win 1-0, for example?
Yeah, it's better for us to be that way. We can shithouse games at the minute with our defence. I mean, we don't score a lot, but you can only take 1 goal at the minute, and that can come via like a stupid deflection, a stupid own goal. Then all of a sudden the teams have got to break us down, and then we can hit them on the break because we do have a lot of pace coming from the side positions now. Even though we've lost the Dammer, we've still got a lot of pace going forward.
Has he not joined Tottenham now?
No. He thinks them shite, James.
I'd say the shit I watch at right wing back, I wish he'd have signed, really, mate. And I didn't really want him to play at right wing back. Adam, you said during the January transfer window that if Arsenal didn't resolve the striking issues, top 4 would be impossible.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really account for how terrible every other team was, really. Obviously, United beat Brighton during the week this week. But I mean, it's really been the results of other teams that have kind of benefited us most. Like, I think in the last week or so, our bookies percentage odds of hitting top 4 without us playing have increased from sort of like 30-ish% to over 50%. And I think that's kind of like as much a testament to how kind of poor the other sides have been, like I was saying, as to like how good Arsenal have been. It feels again like another season where nobody wants to finish in the top four, and all you have to be, and the reason why for the teams, I think, that don't finish the top four, the reason why it might feel worse is because the team that does, so say like Man United finished fourth, even though I wasn't expecting Champions League qualification going into the season, it will emotionally feel quite bad, if that makes sense, because this is not a good United side. Likewise, if Arsenal finish fourth, I'm sure you'll think this is not a great Arsenal side. And if Spurs finish fourth, I'll think this is a pretty poor Tottenham side.
Yeah, I think in West Ham and Wolves' case, I think we have to judge them a little bit differently to the other three in terms of you had a disaster last year, Bradley, in Nunes last season, and West Ham were fighting relegation 2 years ago. So I don't think you can judge them in the same way as the other three. But certainly, if Tottenham, Arsenal, or Manchester United finish fourth, yeah, I mean, it's weaker than all three of those teams have had in years gone by, even in recent memory, right?
No, yeah, definitely. And I think the reason why, going back to your point about me being quite pessimistic after not signing a striker, I always think that the team in these kind of tight races, I always back the team that I view as having the capability to score the most goals. And I have kind of long thought that Wolves and West Ham might fall short in that regard because they don't have the depth in goal scorers I required. Like, they certainly don't have someone of the quality of Kane or Son, or the kind of pedigree of Ronaldo or Fernandes that sort of Spurs and United do respectively. And then we now go into the rest of the season with Lacazette as our main striker. I think he's got 2 non-penalty goals in the league all season.
Thanks for answering a future question, Adam.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll come on to it. I think he's only just ticked over into double figures in terms of shots on target for the season as well. It's like we don't have the goal scoring pedigree I typically think of as necessary to finish in the top 4.
You should do it from here, though, really, shouldn't you? You're 6th currently, but 22 played, 3 games less than West Ham and Manchester United. You trail United by 4 points. You trail West Ham by 2 points. Now, admittedly, a couple of them games in hand are quite difficult, but this should be yours now, Adam, shouldn't it?
In theory,
you just don't want to say it.
I don't want to say it, and also I still think that Man United, given the position they're in, and the fact that they've got like those kind of, I think it's like an American football term, but they've got those like clutch players. They've got people like Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes and Jadon Sancho to an extent as well, and Paul Pogba obviously, who can just like drag a team through a game, and they've got history of doing that. And Fernandes has certainly got history of doing that at United, and even yourselves in Spurs, you've got people like Kane and Son, who I would describe as clutch players. They can pull a goal out of nothing, and they can drag a team through a game, and they've got history of doing that. And whilst sure we should in theory be the best place to finish in the top 4, I don't know if we have those clutch players who can drag a side through a game. Or certainly, even whilst I might suspect someone like Saka has the potential to become one of those kind of players in the future, he hasn't got a history of doing it.
No, I hear you. It feels like a lifetime ago that you drew 0-0 with Burnley, but it's only a couple of weeks ago, and I think it shows an example of what you're saying. The flip is you shouldn't have lost to Manchester City,
no,
on New Year's Day. I think the concern for Arsenal, I think, has to be in terms of injuries, and I think it'll be the same for Wolves to an extent as well. In terms of you've both left yourselves in a position where you're quite light on squad numbers. Obviously, Chiquinho has come in for you, Bradley, kind of to replace Adama Traore, but it's a new, fresh face. And yourself, Adam, you left the squad lighter than it's been since I can remember. That said, both of you have only got to concentrate on these league games, haven't you? So it's pick best 11 nearly every week, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, certainly for Arsenal, barring injuries, there's absolutely no reason to rotate.
What is that best team at the moment, Adam? I'd take it what we're saying. We're saying Ramsdale in goal, Tomiyasu if fit, White, Gabriel, Tierney, Partey, Xhaka, Lacazette, I guess, up front. Saka's in there, isn't he? And then is it two from Martinelli, Odegaard, Smith Rowe? What's the best for Arsenal at the moment?
I mean, I think you can't really change the winning formula. It would be Odegaard and Martinelli in terms of leaving Smith Rowe out. And I don't think Smith Rowe's actually started a game since like even December. I'm not even sure if he started any games in December. It's been a long time, and obviously there are injuries to account for in that. And I do think he'll probably start against Brentford on the left in lieu of Martinelli. But yeah, I think it will probably be keeping the same side that we've been seeing over the past month or so.
For yourself, Bradley, it's a little bit more difficult to read. Sarr in goal, the back three, I think we know, Kilman, Cody and Saeed. Semedo, right wing back. Left wing back, I want to speak to you about, because Bruno Lage had some really interesting comments after some game you won on Sunday, basically saying when he would play Aït-Nouri, when he would play Marcal, and when he would play Johnny's obviously fit again now as well.
Yeah, he was going to sub him on, apparently.
Yes. I didn't notice that myself at the time in the ground, but I have heard that as well, that was the plan. He made a couple of very late changes, Bruno Lage. Great to see him back available. What did you make of a Marcal playing against Arsenal? And why do you think he why do you think he did?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not sure if he was worried about Saka, but that makes zero sense to me, because every time Aït-Nouri's had a massive test this season defensively, like against Salah and against Man City away, he passed it with absolute flying colours.
Yeah, you're right.
And I mean, I shared like a tweet today, like his defensive numbers this season were absolutely fantastic, especially one-on-one defending. It was bizarre. I mean, the best thing about Nouri as well with Saka, he will push him back, whereas Marcel will just sit there and Saka will go, well, I'll have another go at you. I'll have another go at you. It was weird. I mean, I think he admitted he made a mistake in the game when he subbed Marcel off. I didn't understand it. It was really weird. I mean, everyone knows I don't like Marcel, but
you've definitely got an agenda against him, Bradley. It's very well known.
Poor. He's just poor. If you want a left wing back, you need to be able to travel with the ball, cross the ball, defend one-on-one, okay, be good on the ball, pass the ball. He's got none. He'd be better off as a centre back. What
Bradley's saying is Marcal will probably play again against Leicester at the weekend, but he doesn't quite understand. He doesn't understand the reasoning of why, and I get that. It feels like it's moving towards a front two at the moment, Bradley, of Podence with Jimenez. Or do you think that's because of some of the opposition you've played recently that's the way it's gone?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is because of that. Sort of likes to drop in the free sometimes. Especially we know Moutinho at the minute as well. Might need a little support.
Is he likely to be back, Moutinho, for the weekend? Because we thought he was going to make the Tottenham game.
He said that he's got a good chance. We've not heard anything in training or seen him yet, though. So I'm a bit suspicious.
The young boy, Kundal, played really well.
Yeah,
Tottenham
he's been doing all right.
He covered himself absolutely fine, mate. Very tidy on the ball. He was kind of anonymous, which is not a bad place to be from a debut perspective. Having 1-2-0, we had to do a lot of defensive work. Would you put him ahead of Dendoncker now if you were to play a midfield three and Moutinho and Neves are both fit?
Yeah,
because I know you love Dendoncker as well, mate.
I don't know what happened to Dendoncker for 8. I don't know what it is about Tottenham, because he scored against you in the cup, didn't he, as well? He must be only against you. He wants to play well here. It's the first time all season it's done anything.
There's a few players who certainly show up very well against Tottenham. Thank you, mate. Cheers. I think what it highlights, though, from both of you guys, from an FPL perspective, is we can take a real stab at predicting the 11. I mean, particularly in your case, Adam, that with Martinelli suspended, we could all nearly name the 11 against Brentford, can't we? And with the bit of gap you've obviously had this week, the Wolves game isn't till Thursday. There's no fear on rotation, particularly, is there?
No, I shouldn't think so. I mean, there's bound to be some sort of Twitter scare about the fact that I think I saw it earlier today, the fact that Tierney didn't show up in any of the latest round of training photos. And I'm sure that will kind of be a bit of a cause of concern for some people. But he was doing like a Q&A at the training ground yesterday, and he was in like full like training kit. So it'd be a bit weird if he turned up to the training ground, wore his full training kit, but then wasn't training. And I've heard nothing or kind of seen nothing valid to suggest that he is out, other than the fact that people are speculating he's not been in training pictures. That might be the only cause of concern.
Yep, I have one player from Arsenal and Wolves, and Adam's just spoken about him. I think he's an absolutely super asset, though. I mean, I've been on him for probably 8-9 game weeks or so. As soon as he got back in the team, I bought him, Adam. He's up to 5.1 now. Presuming he gets the go ahead, is he the standout for you in terms of Arsenal defensive assets?
I suppose it depends what you're working with budget wise, really. I still think Tomiyasu coming back in, he is, if there was to be a fear over rotation, like I mentioned earlier, the gap between Tomiyasu and Suarez, albeit Cedric did actually play quite well against Wolves, the gap between Cedric and Tomiyasu is much bigger than the gap between Tavares and Tierney. So if there was a slight worry, given his injury history, about overloading Tierney, I don't think at home to Brentford would be a bad match to play Tavares necessarily. But
yeah, get that.
Even then, that's kind of looking at the worst possible case scenario.
Thing is, though, you've had a break from the Wolves game to Brentford, a break of 9 days. Then it's 5 days till Wolves. Then you don't play Watford till 10 days after that as well. There is no reason to, if Tierney's fit, there is no reason to rotate that team. I mean, Gabriel and White, the only reason they don't play game 2 basically is if they got injured in game 1, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Preference between them? I mean, is Gabriel worth paying 5.3 over Ben White's 4.5?
Not really. I think if you're paying over 5 million for an Arsenal defender, you may as well go for Ramsdale, to be quite honest. But Tierney would be the kind of pick.
Yeah, I think Tierney over Gabriel is a little bit more explosiveness in that. I think defensively, just concern for people will be White is 0.1 cheaper than Tomiyasu, and there isn't a guarantee that he comes back in. Similarly, do they feel the need to force to rush him in for the Brentford game? And that's the one you want the most, isn't it? Is probably the Brentford game. So I think people will go White over Tomiyasu with the choice there. Bradley, what would you say to 8 Nori owners at the moment? I think everybody else is probably scared off of buying him, but what would you say to people? Yeah,
he's in the best 11 for me and every other Wolves fan, I think. But
possibly not the one that matters the most.
Yeah,
which is the manager, who we can't criticise because he's doing an absolutely phenomenal job at the moment. But I think it means people look towards the centre backs, and again, a little bit like with White and Gabriel, your three are definitely going to play. Would you make the case for Roman Sayis to be worth paying the extra for? Particularly bearing in mind you've got Leicester on Sunday and they cannot defend corners.
Yeah, Sayis is always the more likely in the air to score a goal. Connor Cody's developed a decent knack, but he's already got 2 goals this season, so he's probably done. Sayis has probably got 1 more in him. Kilman's got 1. Kilman should probably get more goals the size of him.
Connor Cody's got 2, mate.
That means he's done.
He's done. Right, okay. Cody or Kilman, where would you stand on that? Cody 0.1 more.
Good cheaper then for Kilman because they're both going to start. I mean, he subbed Connor Cody a few times, whereas Kilman stays on.
Yeah, true. But then Cody's got 8 more points than Kilman. Max Kilman's actually played every minute so far this season. I would go Kilman over Cody. Yeah. I think he's just gone up to 4.6 in the last couple of days. I think Sayis would be a really interesting one for free hitters, but I'm not sure he's worth paying the extra for. What do you think?
If you're looking for the goal threat, then go for it. If you just want slow and steady, go for Kilman.
The other beauty for yourselves as well, which must be getting you a bit excited, this week's obviously quite tough for you, Bradley, with Leicester, Arsenal, and then you finish with West Ham on the Sunday in game week 27 as well. After that, Palace at home, Everton away, Leeds at home, Villa at home, Newcastle away. It's some run, isn't it?
Yeah, probably the games we trip up in.
Well,
What you agree?
I've said this as well. I said it on one of our Patreon pods this week that I think that run of 5 fixtures is possibly as a 5 in a row as good as anyone's got left over a group of 5 fixtures. But I've said Wolves won't win them all.
No, we won't.
I don't think you've got the consistency to win 5 games in a row at the moment. Not that anybody else challenging
amazing
or position has at the moment, in fairness.
Yeah, I can't see that. We'd have to score first every game.
Any love for Semedo?
How much is he now? Is he 4.9?
It's 4.8, I want to say, Bradley. I'll check that for you. He is 4.8, yeah.
He's getting a lot better. He's been very good this season.
Is that because he couldn't get worse?
Well, true, but the coaching...
I don't know how I have the cheek to say that when I watch Matt Doherty, honestly.
I was going to say, you can tell Bruno Log's done a very good job on him defensively. I've not really seen nobody run past him all season. His game going forward's got a bit better. He's still not getting the returns though, but on the eye, he is a lot better now. Even my uncle, he was like really against him last season. I can see he's settled in now. He's like, because people he was like a meme last season to a lot of people. Like, God, he's so terrible, Barcelona. They rinsed Wolves for him. And now we're looking at it thinking, thanks, we upgraded on Doherty.
The reality is buying Cody or Kilman's boring, isn't it?
Yeah, but buying Semedo was like paying a little bit extra for the same result.
Yeah, very well summed up, I think, mate. And Adam, I guess Martinelli is, let's not talk about it, but people are going to be now stuck there going, it's Wolves at home, it's one fixture. What do? Do you start him? I guess that's subject to teams and stuff, or would you consider moving it to Odegaard or Saka if affordable?
Yeah, well, interestingly, I'm in that exact situation. I've got Martinelli on my side. I've had him for quite a while, so got a little bit of value built up in him, but I'm weighing up whether it's worth selling him to Saka, really. I suppose it depends what your plans are for 27 and whether or not you're going to free hit or what you need to kind of leverage chip wise there. But if you're not planning on free hitting in 27, it's probably a decent time to move on and look to another option who is perhaps someone from Palace who's doubling in 26 and then has a game in 27 as well.
Yeah, but then with someone like, say, Michael Elise is very similar price, isn't he? Might be the same problem. Elise might play against Chelsea and might be a sub at Watford, for example.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I'm looking at your long-time friend Wilfried Zaha. Just because I've got the money to go up there, I'd be most assured that he would start those both games in the double.
I'm sure that he will. Let me tell you right now, that's going to frustrate the hell out of you, mate.
It will do, but it will frustrate me for a shorter period of time. It won't be too long.
Wilfried Zaha's on a very private list of players. It's just like, don't go there, mate. I think. But to be fair, I mean that they've got Watford and Burnley over the course of the 2 game weeks, so you can look at the Chelsea fixture as a bonus. I don't mind that if you're running through in 27. Obviously, of course, interestingly for yourself, Adam, as well. At time of recording, which is Wednesday evening, no announcement on game week 28. Most of us do think you're going to play Chelsea in game week 28 to make it double. And I know there are plenty of people think you might play Liverpool in 29 as well, which would make it double. I didn't say that's going to happen. But if it does, Adam, bloody hell, mate. We've got to steam into your players, haven't we?
Yeah, I suppose you do. And like you say, I'm here. I've sort of heard more credible stuff around the Chelsea game being probably pushed into 28 than the Liverpool game. That one seems a little bit more speculative at this stage. But yeah, and then I suppose in that situation, we probably won't find out prior to the deadline this week whether or not that Chelsea game does go in. If that's looking more likely, you'd probably say, well, it might just be worth holding on to Martinelli, or maybe shifting to Odegaard, who I think is probably as likely to start. If you can stretch up to Saka, I'd always say he's the one to have. I think he's really improved on the eye in the past sort of 3 months or so after a little bit of a slow start to the season. And I think his output is kind of starting to match that now as well.
The thing is, it's Chelsea and Liverpool would be the two additional fixtures, which obviously it's Chelsea away, Liverpool home. Either way, it's tough fixtures. You don't actually need those fixtures to make those 2 game weeks look good for you. It's Watford away and Leicester at home, respectively. They're good fixtures anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, no, exactly. And they're certainly fixtures that like Arsenal are targeting to win. Yeah, so no, I can't really. I think Saka is definitely the one. Like he's the number, probably. I guess other than him and Ramsdale, like if we're talking like holistically for Arsenal assets, I think they're tied for like number 1 spot that I'd recommend. And I think most people are probably looking to have 2 Arsenal players going into that kind of stretch of games, and like for the rest of the season, it's not looking too shabby from a fixture perspective. And you've got the kind of added bonus of what we were talking about earlier in terms of the side is relatively easy to predict at this stage.
I'm interested to know, Adam, actually, you just brought up fixtures. What do you make of that run for yours, game week 30 to 35? I can't make my mind up if it's a straightforward run because quite a few teams might have nothing to play for, or if actually individually they're all quite sticky fixtures. Villa away, Palace away, Brighton at home, Southampton away, Man United at home, West Ham away. You could win or lose all of them, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's on the day. You can kind of say, oh, is that going to be a tough game? Oh, is that going to be one where you expect Arsenal to win? I think Villa have looked a lot more open recently than perhaps they did when Gerrard first came in. They're not, I think he's kind of under the radar, suffered a little bit of a dip in their results. West Ham similarly aren't sort of in any, they're not really looking the same force they once were. And obviously they've still got more kind of fixtures than Arsenal do to contend with. And then you're looking at sort of Southampton and Brighton, and Man United have been sort of rightly chastised for their performance against Southampton, and they're sides that you kind of have to think, well, look, if we can't beat them, we're not a side. And all due respect to,
thanks, Adam.
Well, subtle little dig there, but you know what I mean. I think as a fan, you look at those games against teams that are kind of mid-table sides, and you think if we can't beat them, then we probably don't deserve to finish in the top 4. And that's not to say anything bad about Brighton and Southampton as teams, but they are where they are in the table, like for a reason, I would say.
Well, they're both top half at the moment, aren't they? I think 9th and 10th respectively.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, as in it's not like you're facing a team that is above you in the table, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense here. But
well, I think that the league's got a competitive nature that other than the top 3, it does feel like 14th could beat 4th any week, basically, because I don't think the challengers for top 4 aren't showing enough. And then there's definitely a distance between the likes of Palace and similar, who are going to be comfortably clear of the bottom 6 or so, I think. And on their day can definitely show up. You've got a good last 3, Adam. Leeds, Newcastle, Everton, which I think, yeah, if you're in front going into them final 3, you definitely fancy it. Obviously, the Tottenham game needs to go in somewhere as well, and I suspect that will probably be quite near the end of the season. Your running, Bradley's quite tough on paper. You've got City, Chelsea, and Liverpool all inside the last 6, but we've said there's that great run for you beforehand. And of course, the beauty with both of your teams is you're both definitely going to play in game week 30 as well. So it feels like if anyone stocks up on the 2 teams this week, they're probably running through to game week 30, because you've got Leeds at home as a good fixture for yourselves as well, Bradley, isn't it, in 30?
Should be on paper, but Leeds are a funny team.
There's a very big unpredictability about Leeds. Adam's team should have scored about 10 against them in the first half during that blank game week when every other game got postponed on that Saturday earlier in the season. Bielsa was about the only manager that didn't ask for a game to be called off that weekend and paid the price for it quite badly.
I think our structure, the way we defend, won't help them though. They won't. I can't see us being overrun by them.
No, you'll let them have a lot of the ball and stuff, and
we can hit them on the break, because they leave a lot of space in midfield, don't they? And if Calvin Phillips is still not available, then
Fair chance by then he might be. I think it's probably about 3 weeks away or so. So he might be. Whether they rush him or not, Bielsa actually, even with his best players, tends not to rush him. He did once with Bamford, and I don't suppose he'll do that again. You don't really have the midfield runners to take advantage of that. Do you know what? To be fair, yeah, he is the one that will break into the box. I wouldn't be surprised if he played that fixture. If I said to you now, Bradley, you were free hitting in 30, that fixture at home to Leeds, 3 Wolves players, who would you pick?
Against Leeds. Gilman. Because it's Leeds, I'll go Raul. Because he should get some chances. I'd probably just still pick Aït-Nouri or the goalkeeper.
You're brave with Aït-Nouri, mate. I think you need to get over it. And Adam, similar question for you going to Villa. 3 Arsenal players in 30, which I think, if it is to be just the 3 fixtures, might be the way people go. What would you say?
I'd probably say, I wouldn't. I was going to say Ramsdale, but then again, it wouldn't. Like Villa are a pretty decent attacking side, and they've got kind of set piece threat in terms of Coutinho can deliver pretty good dead ball situations. So probably Saka, Martinelli, and probably one of the fullbacks, I'd say, depending on your budget.
Okay. You mentioned obviously Jimenez, Bradley. Good option for this coming week, do you think? I feel like there's a growing. He scored once, and people forgot he hasn't scored much this season, and people want to go in.
Yeah,
he did take the goal really well, obviously.
Yeah, I wouldn't go. He's got to show a lot more from what he just showed on Sunday, because that was the first good performance we've had from him in quite a few games.
Might get his confidence up though.
Yeah, he's got to stop. He seems to be hogging the ball a lot for me at the moment. He's always he before the injury, he was always quite quick, like with his touches, like quick layoff 1-2 in the box. But he seems to hog the ball a bit too much now. I don't know if, yeah, he's not been great for a little bit. He had like that purple patch of form for a little bit, but other than that, he's been quite patchy this season. Which probably explains why we're not scored as much as well.
You've really just upset a lot of Dennis and King owners sitting there with 3 million in the bank. Adam, are you about to do the same when I ask you about Lacazette? I think you've already laid out the statistics, which suggests, but...
Yeah, I mean, you have to just look at the fact that they've got 2 non-penalty goals in the Premier League this season, and that's kind of all you need to know. I mean, the striker bracket across the board is pretty dead, really. I think everyone can acknowledge that. I would much rather... To be honest, I think I'd probably rather just not bother wasting a transfer there and hold Dennis or King, and even the likes of kind of Morpay, Breuer. I think they're still better value.
Ollie Watkins got a good fixture this week. There's a little bit of doubt about maybe he might come out the Villa team. It's kind of going on with the Villa community at the moment. But yeah, even those guys have got good single fixtures. We're all going to get to game week 37 and go, why have I not had Breuer, Eder and Gelhardt as my front 3 this year, is basically what's going to happen. I think with Lacazette and Jimenez, it's double game week. They're decent options, obviously, but it's coming from a place of desperation of everyone else's crap. I want to try something else. Is basically how it feels. I've with Dennis and King, and it's the same principle for me, Adam. I can't see the worth of moving it, to be honest.
Well, no, exactly, and kind of the role that Lacazette is playing in this Arsenal side now anyway is he's a striker in name only, really. It's like even kind of people calling him a false 9 is kind of a little perhaps not really seeing the way Arsenal are setting up, because in effect Arsenal are kind of more positioning themselves as like a diamond effectively, with Lacazette almost as an attacking midfielder. And then you've got Saka and Martinelli or whoever is on the left kind of cutting inside as inverted forwards. Odegaard dropping a little bit deeper and Xhaka kind of pushing on a little bit forward in that kind of left midfield space. So yeah, even like saying that you're buying an Arsenal striker for 8 odd million isn't necessarily really reflecting how he's positioning himself on the field.
I'll tell you what, I'll ask you both a very interesting question then. And I'll come to you first, Bradley. Who do you think will be the highest scoring forward in game week 26? Jump in. Breuer. There you go. Adam?
To be honest, I was going to say Breuer as well. I don't think Everton are really that good defensively. I mean,
it's mad, isn't it?
Possibly, if he plays, is there an argument to say Ronaldo against? They've got Leeds.
I mean, it's doubtful if he even plays that fixture. I think, isn't it? Because because of the way Leeds play. I mean, if he did play, he'll have chances, I'm sure. But it'd be enough doubt against that.
Well, I think all you need to know is I was one of these people, and a lot of kind of the Twitter community, certainly before Burnley played their last game, was like all steaming into Wout Weghorst. And when you're thinking the best striker option this week is, all due respect, someone from Burnley who's literally just signed for them, it kind of says all you need to know, really.
Did you captain Dennis or King in that game week?
Dennis when he got sent off. Of course.
Yeah. Bradley?
Yeah. Dennis.
It's incredible. Honestly, why did we do it?
I really hate him.
But this is it. It's that as well now with Lacazette and Jimenez. It's the irresistibility of the double, because I agree with you. I'd expect Breuer to score against Everton at the weekend. I'd expect Morpay to score against Burnley. But it's the possibility, and I think particularly in Lacazette's case, that once or twice a year, Adam, you'll win a game 3 or 4-0 at home, and he will get a couple. And the Brentford game on Saturday feels like it could possibly be like that, particularly with the rest space you've had either side, where you might put on a bit of a show for the crowd if you're 2 or 3-0 up, maybe.
Well, the problem is as well is that I've got like a history of ruling Lacazette out as an FPL asset and kind of like downplaying him a little bit as a player. And it happened this time last season as well. And I was telling my mates who were talking to me about maybe bringing him in. And I said, no, don't do it. It's not worth it. And he went on a run of sort of 3 games or so where he returned pretty consistently, and none of them bought him, and they all had a massive go at me for it. So I'm fully expecting it to come back and kind of bite me in the arse again this year. But I really can't see how your team is set up in such a way that you can afford to upgrade someone like a Dennis or a King to Lacazette, or B, you're thinking that's the best use of your transfers, really. Yeah. And the only way I could see it is on the free hit in 27, really. That's the only way I can see people.
I think if I was free hitting this week, I would go for Lacazette, because I also know he wouldn't be in my team next week.
Yeah, and I suppose if you're free hitting this week, you want as many doublers as possible. And the assets that we talked about that we think will probably score the most are all single game week players.
Yeah, so don't necessarily overlook I mean, who wants to overlook the likes of Cancelo and Jared Bowen this week with the form they're in, the Breuers, the Morpays? Don't completely overlook these guys, I'd say. 2 really interesting assets that you both do have, though, are in goal, obviously. Bradley, can you make the case for Jose Sarr over Aaron Ramsdale, or would you think Ramsdale would be a better choice at the moment?
Are they both similar price? They're
both similar. I think Sarr's 5.2 and Ramsdale's 5.1. I think it feels to me like the edge probably goes to Ramsdale because of those potential 28, 29 fixtures, but then Sarr will cover you in 27 and Ramsdale won't, so it might depend what your other keeper is as well.
Yeah, I think Ramsdale's got the edge, especially the 2 home games. I mean, we don't score a lot, so the odds are more in his favour to keep the clean sheet. But if you've got Sarr, just stick him in there forever.
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't move if you had that. I mean, I really rate him, Bradley. I've seen him live, obviously, twice now as well. He's great. He's got a presence about him that I knew it the first time I saw him game week 2, that I could tell he was definitely an upgrade on Rui Patricio. I think I need a new goalkeeper in a couple of years. I like buying shit players from you, mate. Maybe I'll get a good one from you eventually. Is Ruben Neves available as well? No, I'll move on before we fall out of love with each other, mate. Ramsdale for you, Bradley, over Sarr. Adam, sorry. Ramsdale over Sarr.
Yeah. I think you can certainly make a case for it. I think like you say, if you've got one of them, you're not moving to the other. And to be honest, it's probably more of a case of which other defensive assets do you either have or are you looking to get in. So like if you've got someone like Kilman, you probably go for Ramsdale, but maybe if you've got someone like Tierney, you probably opt for Sarr in that case. As a pure player, I think they've both probably been the signings and probably in contention for players of the season, really. Yeah. I think they've both been outstanding. They've both probably established themselves as...
In terms of actual signings, I think Conor Gallagher's a noteworthy shout, but it's a loan. I actually think, Sarr, Ramsdale, the two most impressive signings this season in terms of what they've done based on their expectations. Absolutely brilliant. I can't argue that.
And I think there's probably a decent shout that they've probably done enough to establish themselves both as top 5 keepers in the league as well. Pretty easy. Like there's probably Mendy, Alisson, Edison above them both now. I think that's... Is there anyone else you put up there?
Hugo. Just not what I saw from him at the weekend.
I was going to say, did you watch the game?
What was he thinking?
Slappy him.
He's had an absolute nightmare there. But listen, the one through Hugo is, let me tell you how many times he saves us as well, by the way. But yeah, he's had an absolute nightmare there. I can't defend him for that one. Before I let you go, guys, I'd like to do a couple of quick fires with you. Adam, Kilman or White, if you were buying?
White.
Bradley, same question.
White, I mean, just a little bit cheaper.
Okay. Same to you, Bradley. Tierney or Saiss?
For pure goal, I'm going to say Saiss.
I just don't think you wanted to say the Arsenal player twice, did you?
I'm going to fancy him scoring against Leicester.
Okay. Adam, same question.
I'd go Tierney, probably.
Okay. To yourself, Adam, Odegaard or Neves?
Neither. I don't know. I guess is Neves still on set pieces? Maybe from that.
Only free kick.
He's got a good goal in him once or twice a season. So yeah, why not Neves? So I don't appear too biased.
Go on in, Bradley. Same question.
I'd have said Odegaard. He gets more into the box.
And Bradley, if you were buying Jimenez or Lacazette?
Apart from the penalties as well, aren't they? Raul, because he scored last match.
Okay. Adam?
I mean, first I'd take a long, hard look at myself in the mirror and sort of evaluate whether this is really what I want to be doing.
Raul Jimenez is great, mate. It feels wrong to slander him. I just don't think it's right for FPL at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I'd go with Jimenez because I'd want him to do really well because he just seems like such a lovely bloke and the kind of story is all there.
I don't know what your problem is with Lacazette, but we could talk about that on another podcast. I think Lacazette, as I said, would be really interesting for the minority that might be free hitting this week. Let's do predictions. Before I do the correct score predictions, Adam, where will you finish?
I don't want to say 4th, so I'll say 5th.
You believe 4th, though, in your heart, though, don't
you? Yeah, I think so.
That's okay. That's okay. You just don't want this clip to come back at you. That's fine. I'll tell you that I think you're going to finish 4th. And Bradley, yourselves?
I think 6th. I have a funny feeling we'll end up in the Conference League, which I'll be fine with. But,
it's not all bad, mate, especially when you don't turn up. 6th, I think there's a little bit where you might be disappointed with that at the moment, but I think if you finish 6th,
I'll be well happy with that.
Yeah, you reflect on that in terms of the back end of last season, the expectations pre-season. There's the odd people even worried about it. I was a little bit worried in terms of what if this doesn't work because you were so bad second half of last season. I think the manager has done a splendid job.
Yeah.
Adam, correct score predictions. Brentford game first, please.
2-0 Arsenal.
And the Wolves game?
It's going to be another 0-0 or a 1-0. I'd edge us 1-0. But again, it's going to be another kind of similar game to what you saw last time out.
And Bradley, Leicester City first.
2-0 more.
Okay. And the Arsenal game?
0-0. Or I have this funny feeling Raul might get like his first headed goal back where it happened. Some mad story like that.
What a narrative.
That'd be
Has he not
poetic.
scored a header? Are
No.
you sure?
Yep.
I don't know why I'm questioning you. That would be a really nice narrative, actually. Yeah. I don't think it'll happen, though, mate.
No,
Right,
we don't cross the ball very well.
I'm going to go for... I think you'll win comfortably on Saturday, actually. I'm going to go 3-0 Arsenal on Saturday. I think for yourselves, Bradley, I think 2-1. I think you win. I'm going to go 2-1. Leicester are not bad offensively. They're always liable for putting one on the board, actually. So I'm going to go 2-1. I think the game next Thursday, I'm going to go 1-1 because I just want to predict the thriller rather than the 1-0 or 0-0. So I'm going to go 1-1. And I think actually it might be, Adam, that might not seem like a bad result, but it might stop their momentum a little bit. It won't be a disaster. I can tell you there's worse results than drawing at home to Wolves, right?
No, absolutely. Like, I'm not saying I'd take a draw if you'd offered it to me now, but it's not something I'd be disappointed with at all. 4 points against Wolves, the form and kind of pedigree they've shown this season is very, very good work.
If I said to you 7 points, Brentford, Wolves, Watford before that possible game against Chelsea, you'd take it, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, in spite of obviously 2 really straightforward fixtures. We know, Adam, your team can't help it sometimes. It likes to have a moment, mate, as does mine. We should go and have a beer together more often. I'll see you both in a couple of weeks. Guys, thanks so much. Next week's Clash of Correspondents for game week 27 will be Brentford versus Newcastle with FPL dummy Tom and Sai FPL_footballer. Newcastle 3 wins on the bounce. And Brentford, interestingly, have got a really nice run of fixtures, actually, 27 through to 30. Remember, they will play at Leicester in game week 30. And we'll find out from Sai if he thinks Javier Manquillo should be in everyone's game week 27 free hit team with Kieran Trippier injured. Adam, where can everyone follow you on Twitter?
So you can follow me on Twitter at 35who, spell out in letters.
Good man. And Bradley?
At Parker_Bradley.
Right. Simple. Thanks very much, guys. My team Tottenham's really struggling at the moment, so I hope we both lose at the weekend. Other than that, best of luck. Thanks again, gents. Cue music, please, man child.